G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video. So we've got something a little bit different, or actually it's completely different than usual. We have oval racing. It's Daily Race B from a few weeks ago, you know the drill, and it is at Blue Moon Base Speedway in Group 3. So oval racing is, it has a completely different dynamic to circuit racing basically. So the aim of the game, slipstream, that word, that dynamic, that physic is so important in oval racing. It's not like circuit racing where you go for moves at every corner. You can kind of, outpace someone. Basically, if you're not in the slipstream, you are not going to win. And on the same token, pretty much anyone can win if the entire field is in one massive slipstream train, which tends to happen during the start of the races, but the races kind of implode, I guess is the right word here. And we have also another dynamic. The cars have different balance of performance, so this is for people that actually look in the tuning menu. If you have balance of performance on, usually it says like circuit BOP and then like a little lock icon. With this race, if you looked at that, it says oval, or like balance for oval racing or something, with the little lock on it. Different BOP, and these cars can go up to nearly 320 kilometers an hour. And as such, the BOP really lends itself to the Mitsubishi Lancer Group 3 car, which is what we're in now, and it's what we're going to use for the entirety of today's video, of which half an hour I've got a big one for you. So sit back and enjoy, and watch. I was going to say watch the racing, but sometimes it ends up like ping pong, like that particular instance there where that Subaru went up the inside of the other Mitsubishi, got the Mitsubishi a 1 second penalty. I pull out from the slipstream behind there and just slam into the side of the Mitsubishi, misjudging that bit of space there, but it's okay. Up into 10th, and the crucial part here, we're still in the slipstream of this car ahead, but see this guy not quite understanding the dynamic of oval racing, goes for the move at the final corner there. And once we get ahead of him, we will then see the gap. It was about 1.1, it's now 1.5, so you see how much time I lost from being the subject to such a move there. And you see this tacky guy goes for quite a tacky move around the outside and absolutely walls the Mitsubishi, serving a penalty. Got a couple more cars serving penalties here. That promotes us up into 9th place, firmly in the slipstream of tacky here. Let's have a look. We go around the outside of turn 2. Got a little bit of momentum, but I'm not quite able to get that, and he just leaves me no space on the outside, so very sportsman-like of him there. Also a lot of sarcasm from me there, but still in the slipstream, so not to worry at this point. So generally these races are kind of settled up until about lap 4, and that is when a lot of the carnage happens. You see that massive group up ahead that we're not quite in after being in a little bit of unwarranted fighting. But you see, this is the dynamic here working together. So I'm going to bump draft this Subaru instead of going for another move, because that'll just lose us both time, whereas if I bump draft, we both gain time, and that is mainly what we're looking for here, especially if we want to start to make inroads into that group ahead. So about halfway through the lap now, massive kick of, I don't know what that was, massive kick of oversteer, I guess, from the Subaru, probably having quite a twitchy time on the controller and just shepherded me out of the way through the exit of turn 3. So this is exactly what we don't want, really. Oval racing doesn't come up that much in the game, so when it does, I don't think people quite, grasp the understanding of it here. Grazes off the wall on the outside with the left indicator on, hopefully indicating for me to go through and not fight it. So let's see, we're ahead now, 1.2 seconds behind the guy in 6th, so hopefully we can, gain this up in the last few laps here. We've got about 3 laps to go after this one. Quite a short lap as well here, only about 43 seconds really. Good qualifying times are in the 42s in the race. Obviously you're fighting and squirreling a bit, so that is why we end up in the 43s, but that's generally pretty good pace there. You see going down the straight there, I have my hazards on. I wanted him to drive into the back of me, but no, he decides to go for the move. Once again, you see he ends up wide on the exit, loses all of his speed. I get a massive cutback, but unfortunately I just misjudged getting on the power there and end up with that lovely 5-second penalty. So I was thrown off a bit by the guy going for the move, but in the end it's my fault for getting a penalty really. So we're going to come into turn 1 on the next lap. We're going to serve this penalty. I just get dive bombed again. Thank you very much for that. This guy really annoying me, and he actually brings my penalty up to 7 seconds. My god. This guy, man. You see just how much time I lose. Well, I lose exactly 7 seconds, really, but I'm down into 13th, out of the slipstream. Ford GT roars past, so I quite keeping the slipstream of that guy, not really. And you see we finish in last place. So once you lose the slipstream, basically you're not able to meet those lap times, and you can't get into that group again because they've all got slipstream. They're all going faster around the circuit than you, and that is, you know, based on slipstream. So you see 14th. That's what happens when you fight too much. I really do not want to be caught in arguments and fighting on the track. I want to be in a slipstream train, and the final lap is when you make your moves to the front. But we'll move on. So hopefully we can have good close racing. So historically this combination has brought some absolutely stellar battles for first place, where we, you know, fight right to the line, and it's like less than tenths, less than half a tenth of seconds between first and second. So or between any position really, but yeah, so basically what I'm trying to say is this really warrants close racing, and I think this is a refreshing combination, especially after the recent, you know, stretch of rather poor combinations, or, you know, repetitive combinations, or, you know, I guess this isn't really, you know, there's no strategy in terms of pit stops, but over the last maybe few months, there's basically all of race C, which is the one race that allows for pit stops. The multipliers are not high enough to warrant pit stops, so, you know, there's a lot of things, a lot of little things about this game at the moment that are just a little bit, you know, boring, but it's nice to see a different kind of combination there. So the start of this race started in 8th, and you see it takes until the start of lap 3 before we actually get a move, and that's by one guy going really slow down there straight. See, Supra bundles the other car wide, and I'm on the inside of the pair of them. I want to get slipstream from one car ahead. Someone has pulled out slipstream, Supra, getting rather argy-bargy there, pushing me out of the way. You just see how much time he loses not being in the Mitsubishi Lancer. And we actually do get a little bit of slipstream from the group ahead, and we're able to pull into 5th place. And, you know, that group there, that's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, you know. VW just, you know, slams that Lancer into the wall, get another position up there, up into 4th. That's nice. We're about halfway through the race, so this is really ideally what we want. Now, I want to get through turn 1 without, you know, being subject to a massive dive bomb, and we have successfully done that. We've got Mitsubishi up high and wide, falls back into 5th place. Got the VW contending for the lead there, and then another Mitsubishi in 1st place that doesn't have the slipstream, so that's why we are, you know, they're slowing down as a group and I'm gaining it, because they're held up by the leader that doesn't have slipstream there. See, we're going to go up the inside of turn 3, no, we're going to sensibly just back out and let slipstream do the work. 2 cars out wide, and, well, actually it's probably my fault they're not quite carrying it as much speed as I probably could have, but not to worry. So we've got a bit of a gap to the guy in 5th, 5 tenths of a second. You know, we don't really want to see that closing. I don't want to, you know, we don't want more people coming into this fight here, as it's already a bit of a delicately poised fight. You see, one of the cars loses control in the exit of turn 1, and this is what I'm talking about. We're going to bump draft this VW. It was. We're going to bump him into 1st place and follow him through on the inside of the other Mitsubishi. I keep going to say Subaru, that's why I'm stuttering. Mitsubishi, he actually gets a 2-second penalty, so he's going to serve that on the exit of turn 1 on the next lap, which is about to start momentarily, lap 6, and then that's going to leave just me and the VW up ahead, although I do have attention from a car behind, 2 tenths of a second to the guy behind. Actually, it's less than a tenth now as we, you know, drive into the back of this Mitsubishi, preparing to serve the penalty here, but it's okay. Got a car on my left-hand side, but he doesn't have slipstream, so he's going to fall in behind. And I've got slipstream on the VW up ahead that also doesn't have slipstream, which is why I'm gaining so quickly. He leaves the door open, and I try to go up the inside. I think I did touch him, a little bit of a lag there, but not too bad. He tries to sweep around the outside of turn 3. I take the innermost line, he takes an outside line, and overall we get quite similar runs. I've got a car just nipped up my right hand side there and slips through the gap between the pair of us here, up into first place. Quite a good move. I've got another car on my right hand side, a car coming up on my left, nearly 3 abreast into the first corner, but a couple of cars pull out. So it just leaves 2 Mitsubishis first and second. Someone absolutely having an awful time in the extra turn 1 there. Absolutely binned himself. VW tries to pull in ahead of me but doesn't quite succeed, as the slipstream of the Mitsubishi up ahead allows me to close that gap in just quick enough to not allow him through. Try to go up the inside on the exit to turn 2, not quite on there. Into turn 3 now. You see he carries a lot more speed than me. I think I was making that mistake of not carrying enough speed through the final corner. I guess I was scared of opening up the inside on the exit and allowing someone to work their way up the inside there. That doesn't sound too dirty. Coming into turn 1, no dive bombs from the people behind, but this is exactly what I want. Alright, we're 3 tenths behind, onto the, I guess, the top straight, and turn 2 is flat out, so this really matters here. I want to try and get a move here. Let's go to the outside, see if we can get a cut back on him. Does he open up the inside? Not quite. He doesn't quite open up the inside. Keeps the car on the innermost side. Coming into the final corner, I get absolutely a bit of a dive bomb, bit of an unclean move from Benny here. He grazes the wall on the exit, so we're going to get his position back ideally. Let's see, get into the slipstream of the car ahead. We do pull into second just moments before the line. And you see we successfully make our way up into second place. I just forget where we started. I think it was 10th, wasn't it? We started 10th or something. Up into second. That was just by virtue of not going for silly moves, going for necessary moves, and just, focusing on slipstream and working together to, keep at the front of the pack. Because the last thing I want is to get too argy-bargy with other cars and then fall back into the, bottom half of the top 10, into the, teens. And you see there was a massive gap actually from 7th to 8th, so once 2 cars lose slipstream of one another, the groups can really split apart, because it's almost impossible to gain a massive gap back up to a group ahead, because they're all slipstreaming each other. Up 6 positions there, so we started in 8th, if I can do 6 plus 2 in my head. And we actually had a clean race for that one. Obviously a little bit of argy-bargy, but no penalties, which is nice to see. But we'll move on to the next race. I did quite a few races around here. This is just a few different ones that I did. These were the races that I felt were good enough to, not necessarily good enough, that were interesting enough, I guess is the correct word, to be put into one video. I didn't have enough, content for 2 videos, which is why you have one long video instead. But that's okay. Starting 8th once again. Let's see where this race goes. Just poised on the grid. One thing I will say actually about the Mitsubishi here, I feel like normal circuits, you've got your cars that do really well, so the Audi R8, the Supra is good around some combinations, Renault RS01 is also a pretty good car. Those sort of cars are pretty good, they're usually better around circuits than the other cars. I just feel like with the oval BOP, the Mitsubishi is just so much better than the second best car. It's ridiculous. Normally the Mitsubishi pretty much don't choose it because it's distinctly crap in Group 3 regularly, but I think they make up for it in the oval, where pretty much if you are in the Mitsubishi you probably will win. So that's what we're going to go with here, and you see actually most of the pack goes for the Mitsubishi anyway. You do have the odd people that choose the different cars. We've got, I think there's a Supra and a Corvette up in 5th and 4th irrespectively. They've gone for different cars. I guess if you can remain in the slipstream, you probably would do okay in any car, but if you're on your own, you do want to have the Mitsubishi. So that's why I have chosen the Mitsubishi here, coming into turn 1 of lap 2. One Mitsubishi goes up really high and wide, just comes onto the track just in front of me, and I just go into the back of him a little bit, but that's not too bad. As long as we remain in the slipstream, you see there's a massive train up ahead. A couple of cars pulling out to go for a move around turn 2, 3 cars on the inside, 2 on the outside, and it gets a little bit messy through there, a little bit of side-to-side contact up ahead, but not to worry, no penalties as of yet, as far as I can see. Hopefully we just allow this group to fight a little bit, allow the group to naturally fall back, and allow me to come into that group and make my way up towards the front. So I'll see what happens coming into turn 1. Let's see if there's going to be any sort of incidents. I'm a little bit wide through there. Just keep my eye on the radar, make sure no one comes up the inside. Two Mitsubishis get a little bit of contact on the exit there and make one position up as one is ground off the wall. And straight back into the slipstream. So this is really the dynamic. Allow other people to make contact and just pick my way through the group and just make sure I have slipstream up ahead. See, this group is looking very tasty up ahead. Just graze a wall on the exit to turn 2. They're trying to keep the steering a little bit too open there, coming through the inside of turn 3 up onto the main straight now. Let's see, a little bit of contact there. I think there might have been, that Supra might have gone into the wall, and then this Mitsubishi just here might have went into the back of him. So I make up that position up into 6, 3 abreast, nearly going into turn 1 here. Let's see what this results in, coming into turn 1, going to the back of this Mitsubishi here, gets an instant 2-second penalty, and this guy, oh, I can't explain what happened there. I think this guy just ahead of me pushed the Mitsubishi up into the wall ahead, and I went into the back of the Mitsubishi, but there was a little bit of a lag or glitch kind of thing. I didn't really lose any speed at all, so that's fine. We continue as we were, with the exception of this 2-second penalty. I'm not quite sure how that came about, but not to worry. So I guess we can just look at that as there's going to be one less car in this group, one less car to overtake properly, one less car to worry about. That of course decreases the likelihood of a massive incident at any point in this race here. You see the Corvette going for the move up on the Mitsubishi, up into first place, not quite able to get that move on, but the Mitsubishi just ahead of me is going to serve the penalty there, and I actually get barged out of the way by this, another Mitsubishi behind me. I wasn't quite expecting that, but not to worry. So we lose a car and we gain a car in this group, but it's looking okay. You see the group up, the fight for first place has slowly drawn its way closer to me throughout the course of this race. So you might look at this and think this looks really messy, but this is, this is oval racing. 3x3 coming into turn 1 or going down the straight. Mitsubishi ahead pulls out, goes through the centre. This Corvette's really slow, so that's that's an example of choosing the wrong car. I get bumped behind and almost go the gap up the inside. Gets really messy on the exit of turn 2 there, and I nearly lose it into the inside wall. But in the end, no penalties, so it was completely clean, and we end up in 3rd place. Try to go around the outside of the Corvette here. Mitsubishi up ahead, just drops in ahead, and I get absolutely barged out of the way by the Corvette here now. I don't think that was intentional. It can be really twitchy, especially on controller, so that's fine as long as I don't lose the slipstream. It is frustrating to lose ground, of course, but if I'm still in the slipstream, I still have a chance. I'm going to bump draft the Supra up ahead, of course, not the Mitsubishi, which is why he's a little bit slower in the straight line compared to me, but I'm hoping with the bump draft we can start to get into that group once again. I've got 2 laps remaining. I've got back marker absolutely having an awful time on the exit of turn 1, losing it into the wall. Not to worry, ghosted, so simply visual distraction, but we'll come back to the battle for first place. We've got 4 cars in a train. I've got someone pretty much 3 tenths behind. Almost got the inside of the Supra there. Quickly go into the inside of the Corvette here. A little bit of contact on the outside. I've got another car coming in behind me, but in the end, the exit of turn 3, we are in 3rd place in the slipstream of the Corvette, which is in turn in slipstream of the Lancer up ahead, of which does not have slipstream, so we're going to be gaining on that leader very quickly coming into turn 1, braking exactly on the 100 metre board that time. A little bit of contact from behind, but not to worry as long as we can remain in the slipstream. So really this Corvette is in the most ideal position here on the last lap in the slipstream of the leader, which doesn't have slipstream, so he's going to be gaining absolutely rapidly as long as he can just position his opponent correctly through this corner here. He's not quite able to get on the inside there, but let's see, what does he do on the final corner? Does he go for the move? He does. A little bit of side-to-side contact. They're both a little bit wide. I've got the momentum on this Mitsubishi here, and I'm just going to the back of him as he comes back onto the racing line. He just pulls into the gap between me and the leader coming up to the line, and he is able to grab 2nd place. So contrary to what I've said throughout the whole video, we actually have a different car that's actually won the race that time. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. In qualifying, that Corvette is never going to be quite up to the pace of the Mitsubishi here, but the dynamic of the racing in the slipstream allows that car to keep itself ahead, and the neighbours just turned on the vacuum, if that's what you can hear. You may not be able to hear it, but yeah, absolutely lovely of them to decide to vacuum their carpet right in the middle of commentary. But we'll continue into the next race. So we've had a few good races there in a row, so hopefully we can keep this, you know, keep the momentum up. Let's have a look at the grid there. We've got a BMW Z4, Ford GT, Hyundai Genesis, a Dodge Viper, Jaguar F-Type, a few different cars here, but once again we'll come back to the trusty Mitsubishi Lancer Evo. So, you know, I'm not really going to be choosing different cars because I'm used to this car and, you know, it's the best car. So I've got that Viper behind. Hopefully that doesn't mean he's going to sort of hold us up if he gets in ahead, but, you know, we'll see how those different cars go. For the most part, it was basically, you know, top 6, top 7, top 8 were all Lancers. Occasionally you'd get a different car up into the sort of top of the leaderboard there, but we'll see how this race goes. Hopefully not awfully, hopefully like the other ones, which were good. So nothing really happened on lap 1. You see coming into turn 1 of lap 2 it was much the same. Mitsubishi ends up high and wide, and I managed to make my way past him as he grazes the wall on the exit. A little bit messy up ahead. There's the Hyundai up ahead in 6th, going into turn 1 of lap 3. Now the car ends up wide, so pretty much a repeat move, made up 1 position here. This Hyundai here grazes the wall on the exit there. I'm not quite able to get that momentum as he has the slipstream of the car ahead coming into turn 1 of lap 5 once again. Let's see what happens here. Look down on the radar, someone comes in for dive bomb of the century and absolutely wipes me out. Oh my goodness, let's see if we can get back onto the power. And no, I just get spun around by the side of the edge of that banking there from the flat. See if we can turn the car around. No, I'm back going the wrong way. So we'll just swing around here and, yeah, 5-second penalty. Oh my goodness, that could not, literally could not have gone any worse. I guess if I got a 6-second penalty, that's technically worse, but my goodness, I was up in like 6th or something, and I'm down 20 seconds off the guy in 14th, and I crossed the line quite dismally in 15th place. So that is what I'm talking about. You see, just people can get a little bit too eager and go for moves, and you know, you can kind of get away with shoving your opponents out wide on circuit racing, but in oval racing, if you get wiped out, that's it. Too bad, because you're not going to be catching the rest of the group, especially in a race this short. You know, it's less than, you know, pretty much 7 minutes. You know, you got 7 minutes to get your moves done, and it's not quite going to work out on every occasion. So yeah, hopefully we can redeem ourselves this time. I think this is the last race of the video. I think it might be, yeah. So let's hope we can round the video out with another good result here. Hopefully you've been enjoying the oval racing thus far. But we start this race in 5th, 1/3 from the front of the field. Let's start this race now. So let's just keep it clean, keep our noses clean into turn 1 as usual. Stay in the slipstream of the guys ahead, and hopefully we can not have a repeat of the previous race. Hopefully everyone calms down a little bit coming into turn 1 nicely. Don't get on the power too early as you'll understeer into the wall on the exit. Judge that absolutely beautifully that time. See the lead is way on the inside of the track there, avoiding, you know, trying to break that toe, trying to break away. It's not going to work unless you get 1.5 seconds ahead of the guy in 2nd. That's when you start to break away coming up the inside. This green car leaves the door open a little bit, and I managed to go up the inside there, so breaking into turn 3, going to make that position up there absolutely beautifully, up into 4th place, straight into the slipstream of the guys up ahead. So this is, you know, this race is kind of, you know, starting off a little bit early. Leader once again very far onto the inside, pretty much off the circuit at that point. So he's actually got a little bit of a gap compared to 2nd, the Potezi guy. Another car goes into the back of Potezi, ends up a little bit wide, but not quite able to lose the position to me. And he actually gets quite a good run down this straight up into turn 2. I've got a car on my right hand side. Not the best place to be for turn 2. Around the outside of turn 2 is not quite a move that's going to work unless you have slipstream. But you see how close we are to this green car now. Looking up the inside of turn 3, not quite going to go for it. The big Thai guy punts the red car a little bit. I've got a Porsche behind me. I can't say I've ever seen the Porsche being used on this race until just now. I didn't even notice that when doing it. But we'll see how we go. Around the outside of this guy, he just nudges me into the wall a little bit on the entry of turn 1. Hopefully we're able to get that move, not quite, the space does not quite open, I'm not quite able to get the momentum up the inside. Leader once again very far over to the left hand side, and you see I'm 9/10 off the leader now, so I dive to the inside to get a little bit of slipstream off him. In the slipstream of this car through turn 2, and look how much you gain through turn 2 if you're in the slipstream. You know, just set a purple sector there. But this guy in the lead is actually driving really well for the leader. This guy goes for a dive bomb through turn 3. You see how much ground I lose to the leader there, so thank you very much for that. 1 second off the leader now. I'm going to follow the 2 guys way up ahead. I'm not going to follow this green car slipstream. I want the slipstream of the 2 cars ahead of him, as he wasn't quite following it at that point coming into turn 1. You see, we'll go a little bit wide actually, not quite getting into that apex. Probably, you know, I guess everyone's doing that because they're trying to keep their average speed up. But see how we go. Lose the slipstream of the 2 cars in first and second, so I just get the slipstream of the green car momentarily. So we're going to go through turn 2 now. Not quite firmly in that slipstream, so you don't gain as much coming into turn 3. Red car on the far inside. Green car takes a lot of speed through there and grazes the wall on the exit, so he's going to lose a little bit of speed down the straight, evident by that gap coming down. We're now all following, nearly all of us are following this leader, who's managed to keep the lead for 5 laps now, or 4 and a bit laps now. So that's quite a good effort from him, we'll give him that. Coming through turn 1. Use that banking to your advantage, but you've got to be careful in the entry because the car can get light as the banking sort of falls off, I guess is the right way to describe it. But you see, this race is kind of, you know, it's in a bit of a stalemate at the moment. We have, you know, repeated, you know, laps are pretty much getting repeated at this point because of just, you know, the gaps are not quite close enough to be making moves. And then this green car is, you know, he's looking very racy, looking very dive bomby, and not quite here for it, not quite liking it. We're going to follow the slipstream of the 2 cars ahead. The green car is not following the slipstream, much to his crucial mistake. You see we've got the momentum going into turn 1, but we're not going to go for that move. I don't want to, you know, risk a bit of contact. I don't want to risk losing time or a penalty. But you see, for the first time throughout this race, halfway through lap 6, the leader has actually lost his position and is now down in second. But we've got the slipstream of the guy in first at the moment, the guy in second not quite going for that, and I managed to dive up the inside of the, nearly, I was going to say the pair of them, but I just run into the back of the red car. But not to worry, second place is actually a good place to be until, you know, sort of halfway through turn 2 of the final lap is when you want to start to get into the lead, provided you don't lose that position on the final corner or on the run up to the line. But anyway, lap 7, we're going to follow the slipstream a little bit, but not all the way. I don't want to lose too much time from weaving all over the place. This green car comes for a savage dive bomb, and we lose, oh my goodness, lose 2 positions from that. Mate, my man, you need to stop doing that. You need to bump draft, not go for dive bombs, because you see, he might gain a little bit of time, but then he's just got to lose the time he just gained when I go for the move back on him. And, you know, I lost so much time to the leader there. Going to the back of him here. Almost, actually, looks up the inside through turn 3 there, not quite able to get that move on. Actually, he does, he dives up the inside and just shoves him out of the way. This green car is not, I'm really not a fan of this guy. He's driving rather, you know, a little bit too aggressively there. I managed to just pull in ahead of the car behind before, you know, slipstream allowed him to get alongside. This is the final lap now, so, you know, we're going to be looking to get into the lead at this point. The red car goes for a nice move up through turn 1, loses speed on the exit though, but he gets a nice bump from the car behind him, manages to push him up into second place, firmly into the slipstream of the guy in first, and he goes up the inside of turn 2. Can I follow him through the green car? He's not going to close the door on me, so I've now got into second place with 1 corner to go. It's looking good at this point. I'm momentarily up into first place, but on the wrong side of the circuit there. Green car just punts the red car up ahead of me, and I think that's going to be it. I'm not quite able to get a good slingshot, although I am side by side coming up towards the line. Who's it going to be? It's, oh, he gets it by, you know, 0.011 of a second. Look at that, or 0.015 there. Oh my goodness, what a race that was. Oh, I need to take a breath after that one. But that is, that unfortunately was my best result of the week. I wasn't quite able to get that first place I desired, but second place is okay. But that was a good race there. I didn't really like racing that green car, but, you know, there's not really much you can do about someone else, and, you know, if he wants to race like that, he can. In the end, he didn't win. He came third, as I, trying to race as clean as possible, managed to get into second place. I reckon if that finish line was 10 extra metres down the racetrack, I would have won that one. but it isn't, and we'll have to, you know, thank everyone for the good race there, even though it wasn't quite a victory. So, to everyone in that race, thank you. And that's going to be it from this video today. I do hope you enjoyed. Hit that like button if you did, and do subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this. But that's going to be the end of the video today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.